Welcome back. This is our last video about moving around in Excel. And in this video, we're going to talk about the keyboard shortcuts Control-C, X, V, Z, Y, and F4. And I know we just went over F4, but it also has another function. Then we'll go into inserting and deleting cells, columns, and rows. Let's get started. Okay, here's my first general example. And these keyboard shortcuts are fairly easy, so I'm going to keep this short. First, I want to copy this here. So I'm going to copy me, Control-C, and click here and just press Control-V to paste it. Now I want to move this over to here. So I'm going to click here, hit Control-X, which is cutting it, and then Control-V to paste it. I want to color this cell blue. So I'm going to right-click and just hit the Fill button, and it fills it blue. Now instead of doing that same process, I could easily just hit F4. So F4 not only cycles through the dollar signs, but it also repeats the previous process, which was coloring this blue. So I'm going to hit F4 and it colors it blue. I'm going to hit undo, Control-Z. So instead of doing it with the F4 version, you could also do it by hitting Control-Y, which is redo or repeat the previous process. Now let's undo everything. So I'm going to hit Control-Z over and over again until I'm back to the beginning. Now I want to redo everything. So again, redo is Control-Y as well. So Control-Y, Y, Y, and Y. Everything is done. Here's my second example. Now in this example, I want to teach you how to insert and delete cells, columns, and rows. And let's first start by learning how to do the rows. Now all you need to do is select the row that you want to insert above and hold Control and Shift and the plus sign, and that will insert a row. You can repeat this by pressing F4 or by pressing Control-Y. I'm going to undo that, Control-Z and Control-Z. Next, another thing to note is that if you select multiple rows and hold Control and Shift and the plus sign, it will insert that many rows. I'm going to undo that, Control-Z. Or you can also select the rows individually, and this will insert a blank row in between each row. So Control, Shift, and plus sign, and you see there's a row added in between each one. I'm going to undo this as well. All right, it's basically the same thing for columns. Selecting the entire column and then hitting Control, Shift, and the plus sign. Same exact operation. I'm going to hit Control-Z, and I think that you get it. It makes sense. Now, how do I delete a row quickly? That's actually simpler. You just hold Control and then the minus sign, and it deletes it. And then hit Control-Z. You can select multiple and hit Control and the minus sign, and it will delete multiple. Control-Z. Same thing will happen if you select the columns. Control minus. And then hit Control-Z. Now, how do we delete a specific cell? That's also simple. Now that we know how to insert and delete columns and rows, how do we go ahead and insert and delete just cells? It's basically the same thing. You select a cell and hold Control and Shift and the plus sign. This dialog box will appear, and you can simply just arrow up and down and then hit enter on whatever you want to do. So in this, you can see I can also insert an entire row by doing this, or an entire column. But let's just shift all of these cells to the right from where I'm on. So these two threes should get bumped to the right. I'm going to hit enter. And now they're bumped to the right. And now I have a blank cell that I can edit in. I'm going to hold Control-Z to undo that. And it's the same thing if I want to delete a cell. Control and minus. And the dialog box will come up for delete. And then I can shift cells up to the left or insert or delete an entire row or column. Let's shift the cells up. So 4 and 5 now got shifted up, and I'm left with a blank here. You can do this also by selecting multiple cells and holding Control and minus, and just shifting all the cells to the left. So everything that would have been here got shifted over to the left. Undo that, Control-Z. The same thing with inserting, Control, Shift, and plus, and I can insert and shift the cells to the right, down, or an entire row or column. And again, just select these using your keyboard. Keyboard arrow keys up and down and hitting enter. That way you're strictly just using the keyboard and not touching the mouse whatsoever. Hit Control-Z, Control-Z, and we're back to normal. Now that you've completed all the moving around in Excel videos, it's time to practice. And once you master these keyboard shortcuts, be sure to get the full list and start learning even more of them. There are hundreds of shortcuts, but I find these to be the most used and useful. And I know this might sound cheesy, but remember, when it comes to life, job security, or Excel, speed is everything.